There we go. We're live and in. MaryAnn, thank you so much for joining me. I know that life has slowed down, yet seems like it is flying at all of us, right? For some reason. It's the best way I can explain it. So MaryAnn Nutt, you are a licensed massage therapist. You are certified in, oh my goodness, what did you just tell me? It was oncology massage?
Yes, and lymphatic wellness.
Wow. So incredible, because that work has got to be so touching. But what I want to hear is your story. And there was a particular day that really changed your whole life. Can you tell me about that?
There was on March 9th, 1989, I was at an oral surgeon's office. I had had a saliva gland removed the week before. And as I sat there, he came in and he looked at me and he said, "MaryAnn, you have mucoepidermoid carcinoma." And I looked at him and he said, "That's cancer." Well, I knew that. I was 24 years old. I had a 3-year-old little boy. I had a 1-year-old little girl. I'd never smoked, never drank. And here I have a mouth cancer diagnosis. So on March 30th, that same year, I was hospitalized for almost 2 weeks. They removed my upper right jaw and part of the roof of my mouth. I literally am open to my sinus cavity. And my life has been forever changed. So I can today say I am a 31-year cancer survivor. I have had over 10 surgeries in my mouth alone, but it affects you, you know, and why did I have cancer? I had never smoked or drank. So that was always, it saddened me wondering why. I was athletic, I had been busy, but as I started aging, we then had another child 2.5 years later. We call her our little miracle baby after all I had went through. But I noticed that it seems like my body I would always take naps with the kids. I was never strong enough to do a lot of things, it seems like. I was just never the same after all of that.
I can't imagine you would be at all.
I never had chemotherapy or radiation, but hundreds of x-rays and surgeries and office calls, and it really made me stop and smell the roses. I had been a speed runner, not literally, but my life was always busy, and it made me start looking at life differently. It made it sweeter. I remember about a week after I got home from the hospital, it would take me an hour to eat a quarter of a sandwich because they didn't have the technology then that they do now. And so I had to watch everything from going up high or choking me. And I remember sitting there and the 2 little ones were fighting. And I got tears in my eyes, and my husband said, "MaryAnn, what's the matter?" And I said, I could have missed it. I could have missed it. And, you know, you look at even those hard times differently. It changes you. So and today I can say I'm grateful I had it. It made me look at each day differently, each person differently. So
I'm tearing up because I feel the same way. I mean, being a mom of 3 little kids and the baby being 5 months old, I didn't know I was going to need tissues for this interview, but I feel the same way every day. I'm like, wow, you know, the hours that the kids would have been at school or, you know, somewhere else. And yeah, we've missed a lot, but we've also gained so much during this time. And you're so right. I mean, I have only been in the hospital for having my 3 kids. And it always, like this last time, I was like, what an inconvenience. Like, it's so long. It just feels like, you know, you're not at home, and that's the hardest thing for me, to be in like one little room, for that long. So I can't imagine, you know, all those surgeries and all those doctor's appointments. And I mean, you must have been, you must have been in so many doctor's offices like I have. I mean, I have because I was a former pharmaceutical rep and now my, as the director of sales with nutraMetrix. But I mean, how many different providers? And I bet, MaryAnn, that you can tell, the good ones from the bad ones and the ones that are efficient. And I bet you could write a book about just being in and out of offices, right?
You can. And the other thing that really happened throughout that, because I was brought up in a day and age where you dressed up to go to the doctor. I mean, my parents were very old school, and you respected everything they said, and you obeyed everything they said. And I got to a point where, because I was the first one treated in our area with this type of cancer, I became the photo person. Literally, I had oral surgeons just saying, "This is amazing." The rest of these surgeries had been done at U of M Ann Arbor, and I was the first one not done there in Michigan, to my understanding.
Wow.
So yeah, it does, but it also made me realize what anybody goes through that has a trauma or surgeries or situations that are ongoing. Unless you walk through it, you don't realize how much gas costs to go back and forth, how much babysitters cost to go back and forth, because my doctors were an hour away. It wasn't just a quick run. So it was a interesting time of life, but I've always been a fighter. And that's almost most dentists or oral surgeons, anybody who looks at me now, they look at me and they say, "I don't know how you speak the way you do, having what you have," because I have to wear an obturator. I have to cover the whole of my mouth. I'm similar to a cleft palate. And so even to take a drink of water, it has to be in. So at night, once my teeth come out, I don't drink, I don't eat, because it will come out my nose. So life is, but most people would say, "Nah, I'd never see that." But I've learned to compensate. And there's a difference at being a survivor and being a victim. And I always choose hope. And because that's where there's joy. There's not joy in the other. And so I've always been looking. And then, even my, I've noticed every 6 to 8 years, my body would go through a stage where I wouldn't feel good again. In my early 30s, I had to have a hysterectomy early. And I'm like, why? Why, why am I? But I was always a runner. I didn't know how to rest. And so as I aged, I started, what is it I need to do to be healthy? How do I get healthier?
Yeah. You asked a lot of discerning questions because I've read your story. This is the first time we've actually been able to talk. I've watched videos from you.
Right.
I think my computer's doing something funny. All right, here we go. I don't know what my computer, I'm telling you, I don't know what's up, but I think Zoom is sick. I think Zoom needs a rest is what because it just is being crazy. So I might go dark for a minute. And so this is the first opportunity we've had to speak one-on-one. But in your story, I mean, you got really discerning about everything. You got discerning about, because this kept coming back for you and issues kept popping up in different ways. And isn't that sometimes what happens in life? I mean, we talk about this a lot. A lot of people have issues and then they repeat. And
yes.
I didn't understand it until I watched the Disney movie Inside Out. Have you seen that movie?
I haven't.
Oh, you have to watch the Disney movie Inside Out. And it's all about the inside of, I forget if the main character is a little boy or a little girl. I don't remember. But the inside of the little kid's head. And then it's all these little characters, which is all of our emotions.
Right.
And so then more emotions attract more of the same emotions. So it's so interesting. And it just really explains mental health and the physical manifestation of it. And I know we could get like this is a little woo-woo. We will come back to nutraMetrix, I promise you people, but
but it's life.
Visual for me.
Right.
And we see people and they repeat these habits and they repeat things. So all of a sudden you said, I'm going to take a look at everything, everything going in my body, everything going on my body, everything around my body. Tell me about what that was like to just take a stance and look at everything.
Well, it really started in 2010 because I just kept living and raising kids. And then in 2010, I became bedridden. And nobody could figure out. I'd been in the ER 3 times. They thought I was a 40-year-old woman having a heart attack. I had those symptoms. No one could find the answers. They tested me a lot. They ended up saying I had a syndrome and giving me some medicine. And I'm like, I don't need that. That's not what it is. And it's hard because I was so weak. There were days I couldn't even hold a half a glass of water. It took 2 hands to hold that water. And so that's when things really started changing for me, because it was also at that time, I was a medical massage therapist for a physician, and he just planted seeds. He was a doctor of functional medicine, and he planted seeds about different health things. And I was listening. And so that's when I started watching the chemicals I use to clean in the house. I started watching processed food. I would notice how when I ate sugar, and it wouldn't matter how much or just a little bit, I was very reactive. Like I could eat a bite of a brownie and need a nap sometimes within a half an hour. It would make me so tired. And so I really started paying attention to the difference. It's that inside out. I started focusing on health and healing of me. And so the food started changing. So my 49th birthday was actually probably my healthiest year through adult life. And then since then I have changed makeup, changed hair products, everything. I don't use chemicals, and I couldn't figure out why, but I know now.
But when someone came to you with nutraMetrix,
Yes.
what were the questions that you asked as someone who was very discerning?
Well, for one thing, I had seen her, and her shape had taken this, she curved. She looked great. And it was a coworker, and I'm sitting there going, she wasn't that big anyways, but she got this beautiful shape. And I'm like, wait a minute. and I had literally been that month watching. I had cut out my wheat, yeast, sugar. I had drank a gallon of water a day, and I did not lose 1 pound. I varied 3, but did not lose 1 pound. And that's when she said to me, MaryAnn, have you thought about doing a gene snip? Tell me about it. And so we did a gene snip. 4 weeks later, I got it back. And I'm telling you, I have had tears every time I pick up my book, because that book has answered so many of my lifetime of questions. Because of how the gene snip breaks everything down, and what a great way that they put that together. Because for me, is some of it over my head? Absolutely.
It's literally over your head too.
It is. But it one of the things it showed, 7 out of 8 of my snips in one line showed I cannot detox toxins. Well, when I had cancer the first time, I was a hairdresser.
Oh.
Chemicals.
Yeah.
You know, and I had moved out of the house, and I ate processed food because it was fun. My parents were very strict. And so I've noticed, you know, some of the life changes I made or choices were not good. And now I'm going back to the old way of how I was brought up, of making our own foods. Just like with the gene snip, because of the toxins, most people think eating broccoli and cauliflower and all those are really good for you. I can't process them. They have a toxin in them that I cannot process. So when you cut out a grain, what do you usually eat? The cauliflower pizzas or whatever. And so that's just another thing that it helped open the door for me to start eating not those items. And it changed. It changed the, I don't ache the same. Let's put it that way. I always had a muscle ache in my body, and I would compensate and say, no, I'm good. But there was always that. And I don't have that anymore. I wake up now and I don't hurt anymore. My, so you asked me earlier, what was all the changes? And so because of that, I changed how I ate. I uh, even shored up more product and over the course of time. So I've been working with this whole system for about 7 months, and I'm tanning now. I camped all last summer. We practiced retirement in our fifth wheel. I never tanned because I was D-deplete. I never took a vitamin D vitamin or, you know, I never had to, but I now can be in the sun and get a little coloring. I can now, you know, and it's the sunshine. It's the, you should be able to do just those simple things.
It's
And
like a hormone reaction, I think. Yeah. I mean, and
yes.
I don't really know how you get tan, but yeah, that's
Well, I don't go for the tan. I love the
incredible.
sun
Yeah.
and I craved it, but it was because I lacked it.
So interesting. Yeah, I've heard
Yes.
that before too, that people have, know not just which nutrients are important, but the amounts of nutrients or combinations and what they shouldn't be
Right.
taking. So important. MaryAnn, I always say that I want to stay bright and brief and gone. And I'm happy we were able to capture this because the second half of the story, and what you're doing with it and the action steps and the conversations you're having with practitioners. And you're also now, your clients, you bring this into your client
Yes.
work, right? So we're
Yes.
going to talk about that piece of it and how, like, the more the business end of it at our nutraMetrix annual convention on Sunday, June 14th.
Right.
Is my thing again. I don't know what it's doing. It's telling me all of a sudden it's losing my speaker. Please tell me that you're telling other colleagues too about the annual convention and you're having them come and be on and
Yeah.
growing with that. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, because even through this, I've been able to lose 16 pounds, just by changing my diet and shifting a few things. But there is so much to feeling good. And people who knew me in the past, actually, I went back to that physician that I worked for, and he said, MaryAnn, keep doing what you're doing. He said it 3 times to me. He knew how sick I was. And now he's saying, you're doing it. You're doing well. It changes lives. It's changed mine. I have hope. And so now I can share it with others. And it's become a drive in me. I enjoy sharing how to feel better and knowing what was the core of the issue so that you can feel better. Makes a difference.
Oh, I thought of one more question I want to ask you though before we go. And that is, I want to give kudos also to your team, to Danae
Yeah.
Tate, to Pam Sadler. I know that they've done some work and supported you. Can you just speak to the support of the nutraMetrix system and what it's like to have, those folks rallying behind you?
It is, it's overwhelming at times in a way that they truly take you in and put you almost under their wing without smothering you. You know what I mean? It's like this morning I met with Danae and we were able to share the business. I'm not a Zoom person. I'm just going to say I'm not the computer, but I shared the business with somebody for the first time today that way. I have Pam who is in a whole different state, but I can call her from a store and say, listen, I'm doing this. How do I get a card so that I can save money? And she's like, oh, MaryAnn, let me show you. Always so friendly and willing, and we also have Lisa Grant and Catherine Knapp and Carol, and they have a great team. You can call them anytime. They're always there for you. And just, they do want what's best for you. And that's it's so rewarding, but it's humbling on the other side. It's really a neat it's a neat way to work, if you want to call it work now. I
Mhm.
love my work now because it is that way.
I love the team aspect of it. And I have to say, us at the corporate level, we're
Yes.
virtual arms around you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're giving you love and thinking of you. And I think that's what happens is, you become part of something that has so much energy, that's there. And we just want that to grow, which is why we hope more of you come and hear the rest of these stories and more stories at our annual convention on Sunday, June 14th.
Yeah.
It's free, no charge. Get all your friends. That's going to be really exciting and fun. MaryAnn, thank you so much. Now
Thank
I,
you,
I have
Sarah.
like now another appointment, and I'm gonna go have to like touch up my eye makeup. I did not expect to get teary-eyed during this HP series, but thank you for sharing your heart and soul and so much love today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.